Hello and welcome to the Infinity Archives.
Series 2, Episode 3. Welcome back to another episode of the Infinity Archives, Series 2, Episode 3. I'm Will.
I'm not.
So let's start with the news.
If I had the news, I would give it to you.
We have statistics from Doctor Who.
Do we have statistics from Doctor Who?
We do, viewing figures mostly.
Yes.
We have the final viewing figure for Listen.
Pardon?
We have the final viewing... It's 7.01 million. And with this figure, according to the internet, it now means that we haven't dipped below 7 million viewers on final figures for this season so far.
Oh, that's... yeah.
And we have two episodes we're going to be reviewing later on. That's Time Heist and The Caretaker. So we have stats for those, overnight stats, obviously. For Time Heist, it was 4.93 million people, according to unofficial figures, and a share of 23.8, an audience appreciation index, a very generous one, of 84.
Why is it generous?
Because Time Heist was awful.
That's just your opinion.
Well, we'll get more into that when we review them both. And The Caretaker had 4.98 million overnight views, again according to unofficial viewing figures. We'll have more on that, I think, over the next week, which we'll be reporting for you next episode.
That's something to look forward to.
It will be.
What?
In other news now, that's pretty much all the stat news now. It's basically just merchandise and tats and stuff. And some sad news now. The actor Angus Lenny has died at age 84. He was in Doctor Who twice. He played
Crossroads.
And Crossroads.
My mum loves Crossroads.
He played Storr in The Ice Warriors.
Joe.
And he was Angus in Terror of the Zygons.
Probably something like MacDonald or...
His last name doesn't come to me right now, but
Finch.
I'll probably remember it at some point. So yeah, that's the sad news.
Winston Cadogo.
Okay.
Cloud.
I should just apologise to all our Scottish listeners if we have any. We have merchandise news now. Ghostlight, the soundtrack, is being released on a vinyl.
To Java.
That'd be 2 vinyl, so it was 4 sides in total with the score from Marquez, and Ghostlight was the final.
I don't know anyone who still uses vinyl. Who's going to buy that?
It's a collector's edition. It's like what they did for Light at the End. They've also done it for Caves of Androzani.
I miss vinyl.
I can't see them doing it for the
My
Crotons.
mum loves Crossroads.
Okay. So yeah, that's coming out soon. Score by Marquez. They did a CD for the Crotons as well. It's a bit of a strange choice.
Why?
It's just that I never saw the music as being soundtrack worthy.
Wow.
I don't mean to be rude or anything. It's just more tap news that we have. A box set now. The complete Matt Smith years are being released, like the David Tennant one. It's a 16-disc Blu-ray. Not only does it feature basically everything that was on the series 5, 6, and 7 box sets, we have a bonus disc of extras, and those are the Five-ish Doctors, Doctor Who at the Proms 2013, The Day of the Doctor from Script to Screen, and Doctor Who The Ultimate Guide, and it also includes the Sarah Jane Adventures episode he was on.
Wow, so you can fork out for all the episodes you've already got, just for a few bits of rubbish that you could probably watch on YouTube for nothing.
And it also has an Adventure in Space and Time as well, so that's the 3rd release it's had.
And people will still buy it.
I don't actually remember looking at the cost, but it's probably going to be the same as the David Tennant box set, which is over £100. And they brought out new Lego. Are you ready for this? This is mind blowing. New Lego. Well, I say Lego. It's more the character options building or whatever it's called. And they're limited editions. You can only get 50. I think they're limited to a certain number. So here they are. Right, if you're watching on YouTube, there'll be a picture popping up now. Here they are.
Oh, those are great.
They are. There's a Clara, a wooden Cyberman, I think that's meant to be a Captain Jack, a Doctor from the Crimson Horror, and a Doctor from the Time of the Doctor, with her handles. So yeah, but they're not only that, but they're limited, so you've got to hurry up and buy them if you want them. You can only get 100 of the Claras, 75 of both of the 11th Doctor figures, only 50 of Captain Jack, and 50 wooden Cybermen. So hurry while stocks last.
Well, that's good news, because at least they won't be in the bargain bin for long.
Fair enough. One other piece of tat or merchandise. Well, it's not actually tat. I quite like this. Mook. I don't know how to say that. Mook Publishing are publishing a complete collection of Tim Quinn and Dickie Howett Doctor Who comics in a big book to be published next year, which would be good because I always found the little things entertaining when I was reading the Doctor Who magazines. They were sort of regulars to a little tiny little comic strip at the contents page and on the writer's page, and they were always sort of amusing, and they're all going to be collected for the first time in one great big book, so that'll be good.
Very good indeed. I'm looking forward to that, depending on the price, obviously.
Yes, if it costs too much, we probably won't be getting
Shoplift
it.
it, I don't know.
Yeah, shoplift. No, don't shoplift it. We can't be encouraging illegal activity.
No, not shoplifting, no. But if anybody wants to send us a review copy, that'd be awesome.
Yes, it would be very nice. Together with the specials they did, the annuals and the yearbooks, all the stuff they did for that, as well as the magazine, they're all going to be published, as well as 2 of their previously published books. It's Bigger on the Inside and the Doctor Who Fun book. So they'll all be out next year. So that'll be some more books for us to buy next year then.
Hooray, more money, hurrah!
Now, there are a few books that are coming out next year that I'd quite like to get, including the Gareth Roberts novelisation of City of Death.
Well, that'll be good, because he did a very good job on Shada. Shada!
He did.
Shada?
Yes, it's true.
Shada.
I think that's pretty much it for the news now, unless you have any more news. Do you have any more news?
No.
Okay.
Shada.
Anything you'd like to mention?
Shada.
So we're back now, again, after our short little intro, which I put together and I'm very proud of.
We haven't even gone anywhere.
Right
How
enough.
can we be back? We haven't gone. I haven't even moved.
I've moved my arm. So we've had 2 episodes since we last spoke to the internet, and those were Time Heist and the Caretaker. So, do you want to start off with Time Heist then?
Time Heist, or as we call it, Doctor Who meets Hustle.
In space.
Was it?
Sorry.
I thought it was just the same 3 corridors, just different bulbs. Ooh. Yeah, it was alright. It was nothing special, and for me personally, I found it just a little bit dull, you know. The heist element really didn't come to anything. You know, the one big twist that they could have used, the fact it was a time heist, is given away in the sort of title. Keeley Hawes is completely wasted in the sort of role of the sort of main baddie. The characters with the Doctor, you know, the shape changer and all, I like them. I thought they were very good and had a lot of potential interest there. Somebody was saying that perhaps it would have been better as a 2-parter, which I have to agree with, and sort of like the first part would have been sort of like bringing the gang together, setting up the heist, and then the second part would have been the heist itself, and I think that could have worked very well. But yeah, it was just didn't engage me, I got to be honest. And I don't know. It's a shame because it's a really good idea to have a big heist in Doctor Who and a sort of Hustle type episode, but the thing is, you know, Hustle does it better. You know, Hustle was quite sort of swish. You know, the setup was well done. You always had the little bit of the sort of recap when you thought everything had gone wrong and sort of seeing how it all worked out, and it was just cleverer, to be honest.
I myself love Hustle. and I would have much preferred to watch any episode of Hustle than this. I
A
really...
Doctor Who Hustle crossover, that would have been cool.
It would. See, that would have been good. That's the way to do it. But I really didn't find this episode anything special at all. I don't think I'll be rewatching it. I think watching it this once will be enough for me, to be honest.
Yeah, this big disappointment for me was the sort of ending, which just seemed to me to be a complete retread of Hyde, and a lot of other people have said the same, and, it is, to be honest.
It has elements from the Rings of Akaton in. So not only are they borrowing from one story, they're borrowing from two stories that were only a year ago. Just over a year ago. This episode was like Into the Dalek. It didn't captivate me. I sat there and watched it and just thought, yeah, whatever. The only time I'll ever rewatch this is when it eventually comes round for my blog, which will be a couple of years away. So, I really, like you said, Keeley Hawes was really wasted in it, because the bit she's in, she was pretty good, but...
Well, she's a very good actress, and I just would have thought that she would have had a much bigger role in it, rather than just a few throwaway scenes. I just... why get someone that sort of talented just to sort of not take full advantage of them? But that's something that happens a lot,
And if the Bank of Carabraxos is meant to be the most, impregnable, secure bank in the universe, why the heck are there ventilation grills all over the place?
Well, I can sort of let that go, because that's just sort of hype and stuff, and you do get that, but...
It just doesn't make any sense.
For me, it was a bit of a disappointment. I know some people love it, and, good for you.
At least you're having fun. But this episode, really, I really didn't enjoy it. I thought it was the worst episode I've seen in ages. And Stephen Thompson, you are living up to your name. You never. And Moffat, why?
What's his name got to do with it?
Well, no, his reputation, Writing episodes I don't enjoy.
Well, he's still getting work, so he must be doing something right.
I don't know what else to say about this episode. I really don't. I've ranted about it. At least there were no orange spacesuits in this episode. But this didn't do much for me at all.
No, lots of niggly things like, why is the monster tied up? They've already sort of blackmailing him with the sort of fact that they've got his mate. Why do they need to tie him up? He's not going to run off. He's not going to attack anyone. Just, I don't know, just some very, very strange ideas.
I just felt like it borrowed from loads of different things, and it didn't seem like a Doctor Who episode to me. And like I've just said it loads of times now, I won't be watching this for a good couple of years, Anyway, on an episode that we're more positive on, I think, was The Caretaker, which aired yesterday. Now, I really enjoyed this one. I felt much more captivated and found it very enjoyable, and it was good fun to watch. If, like you said after it did feel like a Sarah Jane Adventures episode, but I love the stuff with the Doctor and Danny and Clara, and there were some good bits of dialogue in there as well. There were a couple of things that made me laugh. The monster looked a bit strange, but it's fine, it's an alien, it's meant to look strange. But yeah, I enjoyed this one a heck of a lot more than Time Heist.
To be honest, this is probably the episode I've enjoyed the most, but, that's not really
It's
sort
not
of...
much competition.
That's not saying much, because, I've had a real problem with this series so far. So it was good to get back to something that, felt a bit more like Doctor Who. It certainly felt a bit more like the Sarah Jane Adventures, I've got to be honest. We've got the Doctor undercover in the school again. Okay, fair enough. But, they did sort of, for a lot of the time, seem to sort of ease up on the sort of coldness of Peter Capaldi's performance. Seemed a bit more likeable. But that said, there's some quite acerbic scenes with him being rude to Danny Pink and stuff. And I think they just need to sort of soften it a bit more, and I hope we see it before the end of the series. Because when he does get the comedy to play, and he does get that sort of snappy sort of dialogue interchange with people, he really runs with it, and I think this is the best episode for Capaldi as far as I'm concerned. By a long way. And, the whole thing of sort of going undercover and just having a different coat, and the fact he's got a brush, all that was really well done. I'm a bit bothered by sort of some of the sort of Danny Pink scenes, where he seems to come across as a bit of a sort of control freak. I'm interested to see how that plays out. The scene in the TARDIS, particularly where he reacts to the Doctor and sort of accuses him of being an officer and starts snapping salutes. I mean, that seems very strange. That's a very sort of peculiar character beat for me. I don't know. I hopefully that's going to pay off somewhere down the line. It's not just going to be sort of like a bit of a sarky comment. And likewise at the end, where he's sort of telling Clara, and warning him off the Doctor. That seems a little bit controlling as well, and that's sort of slightly uncomfortable as well. The only other real problem I've got with it, which isn't a big problem, but there are a few sort of story beats, like the whole sort of hatred, and that's what it is really, a hatred for soldiers in this season. I don't really know where that's come from, whether that's a hangover from the War Doctor and all, but it just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me.
If it were a hangover from the Doctor, it wouldn't really make any sense, because he's met the War Doctor now, and I think he was a bit more comfortable. He's obviously met the War Doctor, but he's sort of met him again. But this is when he was Matt Smith, and they all seemed to sort out Gallifrey, so I don't know why he'd be angry.
Well, I mean, apart from all the unit years, I mean, all the military personnel he's come into contact with over the years, stretching right back to sort of William Hartnell's time, and he's never seemed to have a problem to this extent. It just seems a very strange sort of story beat for me.
Maybe it's leading up to something, I don't know. But
well, I hope so, because otherwise it's just sort of a generic sort of character trait that sort of, it just feels a bit tacked on if it's not going to have some sort of payoff.
A couple of things I want to ask you. You've been saying this season that you weren't really comfortable with Peter Capaldi as the Doctor. Would you say you're more comfortable with him now after seeing this episode?
He was definitely better in this episode. I liked the sort of more comedic sort of aspects, but like I said before, there's still these sort of niggling sort of sarky comments. The whole thing was sort of Daddy Pink and sort of the PE teacher. Yeah, you could have used that a couple of times, so it was like bang, bang, bang all the way throughout the episode, like. And let's face it, the Brigadier, retired soldier, went on to sort of teach maths. He didn't have a problem with that. So why is this guy sort of, unless the Doctor's got some sort of inkling that, I don't know, it just seems a very strange couple of story beats. But yeah, I did enjoy his performance in this. I thought this is the best I think he's been since the series started by a long way. And he hasn't been bad, but I'm a bit old fashioned. I like the Doctor to be a bit more avuncular, a bit more sort of, not necessarily cuddly, but certainly approachable. You want this guy to be sort of like personable. Otherwise why would anyone want to travel anywhere with him if he's that spiky and that harsh all the time?
Another thing was the new girl, though. Well, I say the new girl, the new character that's going to be in the next episode, Courtney. What did you think of her? First impression.
Well, she seemed okay, but a bit tacked on, I thought. But it all depends on where it goes from here. Like, it's quite interesting, but that TARDIS is starting to get mighty full now. Certainly going by the next time trailer, you got Clara, Danny Pink and the girl in it, and the Doctor, it's...
Danny Pink was in there.
Wasn't he?
I didn't see him.
Well, I wasn't sure. Maybe I had it wrong, I could have. But, it just seems a very strange... I am very, interested to see where this sort of season pays off. And are we going to sort of see a change in the Doctor? Is he going to have a sort of softer character by the end of it, or is he just going to be as acerbic?
And the other thing, we had another appearance of Heaven and Missy again at the end of the episode.
Yeah, that's... I know a lot of people are sort of finding it annoying. It doesn't really bother me because, these scenes are only sort of throwaway couple of minutes. And as long as it's got a payoff, it's not a big thing.
And that guy who was talking to at desk, the police officer, the guy who was talking to the desk, I've seen him somewhere before, but I can't remember where. He just seemed familiar.
Not sure.
Yeah.
Wikipedia him. Google him. So, let us know what you think. What do you out there think about the series? Are we being too harsh on it? I know I've been sort of quite negative since we've come back, but it's no good sort of saying, oh, well, it's Doctor Who. Let's love it just because it's Doctor Who. And I know sort of some people are finding it very divisive, this series. There are so many people who sort of seem to love one episode, and then there's just as many who hate that episode, and then the same with all the sort of previous episodes. They're so sort of divisive. I'm really interested, sort of like in 5 years' time, how people are going to view this series as a whole. It's very interesting, because for everyone that says they love an episode, there are just as many people who sort of seem to say, "Oh my gosh, this is the worst ever."
It's a valid point you made. The Caretaker's definitely been the best episodes so far, but there's nothing much that was up against really competition-wise. But that doesn't mean it wasn't an enjoyable episode, though.
It was good fun. It was a bit Sarah Jane, but yeah, there were some nice moments, and there were quite a few moments that I laughed out. Peter Capaldi was really good. But don't just listen to our opinions. Other opinions are available, and here's an opinion that is freely available. It's time for What Did Gabby Think?
So Gabby's here now with her opinions of Time Heist and The Caretaker. So what did you think of The Caretaker then, Gabby?
It was very bad because it only had one monster in it.
You thought it was very bad because there was only one monster in it?
Yeah.
Did you like any of it?
Yeah, it was a good episode. Like, there's a new companion now.
Which bits did you like?
The bit I liked is where right at the end.
Right. Tell us then. Which bits did you like at the end?
The bit where she was sick.
Oh, right.
Okay. And Time Heist, what do you think of that one?
Very, very weird.
Weird. Did you think it was good or bad?
Middle.
And is there anything in particular you liked about it?
What I liked about it was the weird thing.
The teller.
Alien.
Yeah, the alien, the teller thing.
So this series so far, would you say it's better or worse than Matt Smith's?
I think it's a bit worse than Matt Smith.
Alright, why is that?
Because I liked Matt Smith really, and Matt Smith was a really good doctor.
Okay, what do you think of Peter Capaldi?
He's a bit old. I would like to see the youngest doctor.
Right.
That was Matt
Do you
Smith.
think he's funny at all?
Yeah.
Do you think he was funny yesterday?
When
he was pretending to be the school caretaker?
Yeah.
Okay. So far we're halfway through the season now. I want all three of us to give 10 out of 10 results so we can mark them out of 30, basically.
Do we have to do ratings? Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
because I thought it'd be statistically
Okay, go on
interesting.
then.
So, Gabby, you can start first. What did you think of Deep Breath out of 10?
4.
4. Okay. I'd probably go with a 5.
4.
Okay. What about Into the Dalek?
6.
7.
I'd probably go with a 6 as well. And then there's Robot of Sherwood.
9.
5.
7. I like 7s. Listen. This would be a 4 for me.
1.
A 1. Okay. A 1.
3. Too many reused ideas.
And then Time Heist. This is probably where I'm going to be most negative. I'm going to give Time Heist a 2.
I think I would give it a maybe 5.
5, okay.
A 3.
What?
And then
Rather dull.
And then The Caretaker. For me, The Caretaker got a 8.
4.
4.
No, I mean 9.
A 9.
Hard to say, I've only seen it once, but I'll give it a 7.
So I will collate those ratings now. Insert computer beat.
Add up.
Whatever. Insert computer bleep blop now.
Well, he's doing that.
So, Gabby, how old do you think Peter Capaldi is?
52.
52. Very close, 55. So, what would you like to see happen next in Doctor Who?
I didn't see the next time trailer.
Okay, but I mean just generally in the series, what would you like to happen before the series finishes?
I would like to see if Unit does actually come back in the last episode of the series.
Right.
And that's where I just want to see if it does actually show you if it's the last episode of Unit.
All right. You're a bit obsessed with Unit, aren't you? Any other monsters you'd like to see come back in?
I would like to see the Cybermen.
Right. Anyone else?
We've had the Daleks, Sontarans.
Right. Would you like to see ordinary Sontarans, or would you like to see Strax back?
Strax. And what monsters do you want to be back?
I'd like to see the Draconians back.
I would like to see the Autons back.
There we are then.
And the kissy things.
Well, thanks for helping out on the podcast, giving us your very valuable opinions, and we'll speak to you next time.
This will also be on the cloud thingy, and also be on YouTube as well.
Thank you very much.
On pictures as well, by the way. Bye.
Thanks, Gabs.
Awesome.
Go now.
Speak into the microphone.
Mhm.
Say, I'm Gabby, and I'm a disruptive influence.
What's that mean?
Just say it. It'll be funny.
I'm Gabby, I'm 8.
And I'm a disruptive influence.
And I'm a deductive influence. What does that equal mean?
So the scores on the doors for this half of the season. I can't believe I already just said that. Okay. Deep Breath, out of a possible 30, got a 13.
Right.
Into the Dalek was slightly higher with a 19.
Right.
21 was the score that Robot of Sherwood pulled through with.
Right.
The clear loser of this season so far was Listen with 8.
But people say it's the best episode ever.
And then Time Heist got 10, but I think that was due to Gabby's high rating. And then the Caretaker, the clear winner with 24 points.
Ah. So there we are, halfway through the season.
We shall do another sort of final roundup at the end of the season, so we can tell you how they all are. We will do like sort of top of the pops countdown. So, do we have anything else we want to say on this podcast? Any recommendations or anything you want to talk about?
Watch Day of the Daleks. It's awesome.
Yeah, I watched that recently. It's so good. I really enjoyed it. I'm on the Kiss Peloton now as well, which is it's good, but it's not as good.
What? But it's got Arcturus. Bring Arcturus back.
Yes, bring him back. So that's pretty much it then from me. I haven't got anything else to say. I haven't really got any more recommendations apart from stuff I've said in the past, so I'll just leave it at that.
Well, here we are as we take your leave of us again, and our moaning and our dribbling and our stuff. Join us next time for more of the same, only different, as we travel through the roots of infinity.
You have been listening to the Infinity Archives featuring Will and Gareth Lloyd. No copyright infringement is intended, and we appreciate all comments which you can email, tweet and Facebook to us. Or you can leave a comment on the blogs or on the YouTube page. You can download this episode on our SoundCloud stream where this episode will feature for 4 weeks, and then you can listen on YouTube. See you in 2 weeks.